Hey, good morning. Welcome to Sports Talk. I'm your host, Chris Raynor. Happy Thanksgiving weekend. Happy Merry Christmas coming up. Hope everyone has that. It's been a big week in sports. We got a lot to talk about. We got our top-notch co-host, Ashley Moseley, with us.
Thank you, bud.
Welcome, Ashley.
Hope
And
you
our
had a good
top-notch guest, one of my favorites when he comes in, Coach Ray Durham. Thank you for being with us today, Coach.
Thank you for having me.
Absolute coaching icon.
It has been a busy sports week. We've got a lot to talk about. We want to talk about some of your thoughts on the playoffs, some of the things you can add to, what you used to do in a playoff time and stuff, how that was different than, games and stuff. And we're going to get all that in just a minute. We do want to thank our fine sponsors here at Sports Talk. National Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram, the losses of John Drew Warlick, CNS Paint, Ron Choate and Victor Case, Onslow County Motor Company, Fountain Management, Miss Sandra Fountain, Wismart, Chappie's Chicken and Great Gas and Oil, Bartley Insurance Services, Bill Mercer, Humphrey Heating and Air Conditioning, Rock Creek Golf and Country Club, Golden Corral, Lane and Associates Family Dentistry, Doctors Tommy and Kim Morgan, Jones Onslow EMC, your Touchstone Energy Cooperative, Southern Touch Painting, Barnes Diamond Gallery, and Bayshore Animal Hospital. Of course, our new location at Bayshore is now open at 623 East Sampson Drive in Swansboro. I want to thank Helen's Kitchen and Billy Grissett for them BLTs this morning. I already had one before the show. Normally I don't eat before the show, but we got here a little early today, all of us, and we've already had one of the best shows you could ever have 30 minutes before we went on air.
We really have.
That's some good talking. We're going to try and regurgitate some of that here in a
Yes,
minute.
sir.
That's some good stuff. Our Hurricane Watch is powered by Downey's Heating and Air Conditioning. Jason Humphrey and the gang will talk about the Hurricanes, how they're progressing. They got a lot of injuries, goaltenders and stuff, but we'll get to that in the watch. We'll save that for that. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel and watch the shows and previous shows at YouTube at WSME Radio. And if you can catch the show on our Facebook page at Freedom 97.1 WSME, y'all wave to all the people out there in internet land, all across the world. They're watching this show right now, all across the world.
All over the world, parts of Georgia.
And somewhere behind the Great Wall of China.
Right.
You can also find all your favorite on-demand sports talk podcasts and stream the station live at our website at WSME971.com. After all that, thank you to our fine sponsors once again, especially in the holidays. Support your local people, your local businesses. Stick with them as much as you can. And support the sponsors that support Sports Talk. I can't say it any better, can I?
No, you can't.
All right, let's get right to it. Coach, it's playoff time.
Playoff time.
Now, I know the Cardinals won this past Friday night at, it was
Burlington Williams.
Burlington Williams. Long way to go. You didn't make that trip. That was a long trip. But you were tuning in on WSME, weren't you?
I was.
Yeah. So you heard all the give them six. And,
Yeah, 158 miles west of
And
here.
I love their chemistry that Jerry and Bob have, because you'll have Jerry doing that, and then you have Bob going, yes, and that was a nice time. He's just so reserved.
Oh, yeah.
And, man, they know their stuff, don't they?
Well, they were both reserved about at the end of the first half, pretty much.
Yeah. Ugly first half.
Yeah, they know their stuff.
Tell us a little bit about it. You were there and you heard it on the radio. First half, what happens right to start with? Did Burlington was Burlington actually up like 27-0, or was it 27-7, 24-7?
24-7. They scored on their first possession. To me, it was an old-timey trap play. It was a reverse pitch to the running back. He went the other way and scored. And the boy from Jacksonville returned the kickoff back for a touchdown. It was 7-7.
So it was 7-7.
Yeah, but from then on, the Cardinals kept shooting themselves in the foot with penalties. Didn't do too well trying to catch the ball and that sort of thing. And but the second half, it's like Coach Durham was talking about earlier. Jacksonville only led 57 seconds of the ball game.
Yeah.
And that's all.
But the comeback was on pretty much the whole second half. They started wheeling away.
Yeah, they did. The quarterback for Burlington got hurt, and I really don't think he was the same quarterback after that. But again, I got to give a lot of credit to Coach Bo Williams and his defensive strategy, because they held him scoreless second half. He is one heck of a defensive football coach. There's no question about that.
Well, and then you make a trip, 2.5-hour trip.
Yeah.
And you get up there, and the boys have been sleeping, laying around, not jabbering,
Right.
all the way up there, and you just can't snap right back into game ready.
Right.
That's not an excuse. That's just the way it is.
Well, that's to be looked at. I understand what you're exactly right. Let me ask you this: Do you think they need to warm up a little bit longer, before the kickoff, or what?
No, you just need to get back into your regular whatever you do as quick as you can. Now Burlington, they've been there all afternoon. They
Yep.
might have gone home after school or might not have. But making a trip is an adjustment after that. You
Almost
just-
like bus lag, isn't it?
right.
Yeah.
And you can't get in the game ready when you just step off the bus.
I understand.
And but like you said, they stayed close. They
They
hung
did.
in there, and finally they got everything rolling. And it was very good game the second half, particularly for us.
And the receiver Galarraga, he stepped up in the second half. He made a big catch at the end of the fourth quarter, to get him into the end zone on the next play.
Was it a long catch where he made the catch long, or did he catch it and break?
No, it
after
was
the
a long
catch?
bomb. He called
So he called it
down the
long
field,
pass, okay.
then he ran maybe 8 or 9 or 10 yards after he caught the ball.
To set him
drug
up.
him down from behind. Yeah.
He set the table for him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Coach, you've been around the game a long time. When you were coaching, have you ever had a game like that where you just felt like you were in quicksand, and then all of a sudden, it takes a spark and that momentum flips just like a switch?
Yeah, and sometimes one play can do it.
Yeah.
One play. They've got this mindset, and then all of a sudden one thing happens, and that's your old team ready now. We're ready to go now, and thankfully we had enough time to flip that switch,
Right.
and we were ready to go.
Well, it was a good team effort. I was on the sidelines, watching the ball game, and I don't know the guy's name for Jacksonville, number 31, but he got the defense and everybody around him, and he looked up at the clock, and he was so positive. He said, "Okay, guys, we got 11 minutes, and that's plenty of time to win the ball game." And that's what they did. So they stood together, kept on playing, and no quitting them cardiac Cardinals. There's no question about that.
I had a wonderful trip to the in-laws that evening, so I didn't listen till later. When did the Cardinals score their first touchdown in the second half? Was it in the third quarter, or did everything happen in the fourth quarter?
I think they scored the second touchdown in the third quarter. I wouldn't bet my life on it. My recall isn't that good about
Maybe
it.
late
But I do
third
know
quarter,
this much.
yeah.
With less than 8 minutes to go in the ball game, it was 24-14.
Okay, so they scored a
do know.
touchdown. And, Coach, that mentality, you can't have that mentality, we're going to make it all up at one time. There's no way to do that. You got to chip away.
Right.
Not waste any more drives.
Yeah,
start
don't put
scoring.
the ball on the ground.
Yep.
And just keep working. And once we scored that second touchdown, we were obviously the best team.
Yeah. From then on, and it didn't hurt that was it June that had the big hit on their quarterback that
Yeah.
made them. Was that in the second half when the quarterback went up? No, that was right at the end of the first half, wasn't it?
No, it was the second half.
Was the second
no,
half?
you're right. It was
I think
close
he
to
got
the
hurt right
first
before
half.
the end of the first half.
I believe
yeah.
he did too.
And never was the same.
Well, either he wasn't the same, or Coach Bo's defense stepped up and made some adjustments or whatever. But I don't think I'm surprised the boy went back in the ball game. I'm gonna be honest with you.
It was a
He
it was
was
a big hit
unconscious
from what I heard.
For about a minute, he didn't move when he was laying on the field. And when he got up, they told him on the field. He was staggering. I'm surprised he came back and played. To be honest with you,
Now you said it's one of them hits that was heard all around the stadium.
you could hear it. It sounded like a boy hit him in the head with a baseball bat.
Yeah, wow. Tough hit, and June's a tough customer now.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
He sure is. He sure is.
Well, everybody talks about his running ability, which is elite.
Right.
But when he is playing linebacker, that's a whole nother story.
I'm not so sure when he goes to Carolina, he may end up playing linebacker. I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah,
Is
I
he
wouldn't either.
Is he too big for strong safety at the college level? You think, or about what they need if they decided to go that route?
Well, I think he'll outgrow strong
So
safety.
he's more linebacker.
Yeah, he's more of a linebacker.
Well, that's he's just one of those players. And you've been, like I said, you've been around the game a long time. Does that innate ability he has as a running back, seeing the holes and knowing where it's going, that helps him at linebacker? He has that little foreshadowing of what a running back would do. You know what I'm saying? Just that instinct.
Well, all the good ones have that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And you
Well, I'm
can't
saying
coach
he has it on both
No, you
sides of
can't.
the ball. Yeah.
Yeah,
You
you
either
can't
like
coach
contact
it,
or
you
you
can't teach
don't.
it. Why did you do this, son? Well, I just felt like that's where the ball's going to be, and that's where it was.
Well, before we finish up our first segment, we got plenty of time. But before we finish it up, I want you to relate another story. Talking about Bruce Simpson, you had a game where basically Bruce was, for lack of a better term, going rogue. He was doing Bruce Simpson stuff, and you decided to, okay, let's just ride that train. Tell us about that story and how he was playing in the game. And it wasn't like he was doing anything against the team. It's just that natural instinct you were talking about.
Well, we had a certain call and lined up in kind of a 60 side, and Bruce was firing every play. And
When some players called for him to not.
Yeah, I
get laid
mean,
back.
You read your key and you do this, you do that, other, and a couple of times I just told Bruce, don't worry about them calls. You just go get the ball. So Bruce played like that, and one of the coaches said, do I need to talk to him? And I looked down at my paper that I had, and Bruce had 15 tackles. And I said, I tell you what, every time call that on Bruce's side. And he looked at me and I said, that way you're in charge, Coach. He's running what you're calling.
Yeah.
So
You're making the call to
yeah,
fit his.
that's right.
That's a great management decision.
That's
you
right.
protected your coach and your player at the same time because the player was going to do it anyway.
Yeah. But Bruce was a little bit different linebacker. He was really good.
He was almost like Bobby Boucher in The Water Boy. He just, wherever the ball was, he was going to attack it.
That's exactly right.
Now, he didn't play both sides of the ball, did he?
No.
He was just a defender. That was obviously, he was on your 82 state championship team. Do you remember the picture in the paper of Bruce with the crown on his head?
I do.
You probably didn't like that, did you?
Well, probably more important, Bruce didn't like it.
Oh, really? So whose idea was it to do that?
The papers.
Oh, yeah. Now, that was back in the day when they had 5 or 6 staff writers, remember?
Yeah.
And they did them preview issues. And if I remember right, when that came out, it was leading up to the state championship game, wasn't it?
No, it was after.
Was it after? Yeah. So like the
crown
the issue that shows that talks about the game and the championship game and stuff.
Yeah.
Man,
if it'd been before the game, that'd be some bulletin board stuff.
If they could get hold of it.
Yeah, right.
See, that was a different world of it. Now, the year you won the state championship was Page, right? That you beat Greensboro Page. So see, nowadays that stuff would be out in 10 minutes.
Yes.
Back then they'd had to come
be
down
on
here.
everybody's phone.
Yeah, they'd have to come down here and find a newspaper somewhere. That's the difference between now and then.
Yeah.
I've had before where my kids I've told them stuff like, I met Roman Gabriel years ago, which I did. He spoke at our SAT scholarship thing when I was a senior in high school, many moons ago, 86. And I told my son that, and he said, why didn't you, do you still have pictures of him? I'm like, dude, back then we didn't have that thing in our pocket that you could take pictures with. We do have one, but it's somewhere stuffed in a box somewhere. I'd have to find it. It's not like, it was a ready-made thing. Now, you made that championship run. 82 was state championship for Jacksonville. Now, I always get it confused. The year before you didn't go to the state championship game, it was 2 years before that you were there again, right? So you were there in 80, I guess in 82.
Yes.
Okay. And we talked about it before. Your 1980 team, who was your quarterback? And Greg Cooper?
Greg Cooper.
Okay. Was he the one that got hurt late in the year that kind of put the kibosh on the state championship?
Got hurt in the game.
In the game.
Probably the worst call I'd ever made. The score was 14-14. We ended up getting kind of run out. But at that point, it was 14-14, and we held Page right across midfield. And it was about 20 seconds left in the game.
Halftime,
Right. And sent Eddie up the middle just to run the clock out. And he popped it, and he's on the other 40.
Wow.
So we got 4 or 5 seconds left. And I said, Greg can throw this ball to the end zone. Why don't we just take a shot?
Yeah.
I mean,
nothing to lose, really.
no, nothing to lose. I mean, if they intercepted, we got 11 boys between him and the goal.
Yep.
What we didn't count on is not blocking the backside defensive end.
Was that a missed assignment?
Yes.
Oh, the guy.
So he got a blindside hit.
And he got blindsided and broke his shoulder. And the whole halftime of that is just eerie because I'm up there on the blackboard trying to do some things for the second half. I got one of my eyes looking at the doctor, looking at Greg. There's 45 players looking at the doctor, looking at Greg. And he shakes his head, no. And then to make it even worse, we go back out for the second half and we can't get to the bench.
This was in Jacksonville.
Yes.
Right? Okay.
We can't get past the gate. So I tell them
There's
we're
so many
going.
people there.
Yeah, we're going around the track and we're going to come in on from Page's bench. So we do that, and when I get to Page's our bench, there's a flag on the ground. And I pick it up, and the official's standing there, and I said, "What's this?" He said, "It's a penalty on you."
For delay.
And I said, "For what?" He said, "Delay a game." And I tell him, I said, "We couldn't get through that crowd. There's 50 deep." He said, "You're the home coach. You're responsible." So they back us up for the kickoff, and boy runs it back all the way. And
Kicking for like your own 20.
yeah, and I mean, so it's just we got you couldn't have had a worse ending to the first half and start of the second half.
No, sir.
And
Lose your quarterback, and the boy takes you back all the way on
Now,
kickoff.
what was the
first time
score
out.
when right before the half?
14-14.
Tied.
Tied. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what we talked about earlier. That's one of those momentum things. Whether it's a momentum break, whatever you want to call it, that just flips the game.
And Eddie Colson was running back.
That's right. I mean, he gained 125 yards, and I mean, he had a
good
good
game.
ball game. Page was obviously the best team we'd played, but still, you know, I think it was like 35-14 or something.
I got you.
And so you really got blown out, didn't you?
Yeah.
I said, well, yeah and no. You know, we were in the game, and all of a sudden we lose the quarterback. We get a penalty. They run a kickback, and it's over.
Yeah.
And it could happen just like that.
It sure can.
And
It
it's
sure-
so
yeah.
interesting you say that. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I just take a knee, then no telling what's going to happen in that second half. I just take a knee for the last play of the game instead of getting a little bit greedy.
People can, it may not be getting greedy. I mean, people can second guess that, but as a coach, you got you got the ball on the other team's 40-yard line. You got a quarterback that can throw it that far. 4 or 5 seconds left in the game. You don't have anything to lose.
Well, that's what you think.
Yeah.
And then
There's
you
always
lose your
a risk,
quarterback.
but Yeah. I'm sure if you had to do over, you wouldn't.
In all my coaching career, if I had one play to do over, it would
Be
be
that
that one.
Well, there's the red light sounding. You hear it?
I heard it.
I heard it. So we're going to take our first break. We'll be right back with Ashley Moseley co-hosting today. And, of course, our honored guest, Ray Durham. We'll be right back. Hey, good morning. Welcome back to Sports Talk. I'm your host, Chris Raynor. Co-host Ashley Moseley with us today. Thank you, Ashley.
Thank you, buddy.
High school football is in the sweet season,
The
isn't
most
it?
wonderful time of the year. Yeah,
most
it
wonderful
goes by
time of the
so
year.
fast, doesn't it?
It does. Seem like it's just the dog days of August getting started.
Yeah.
And of course, we have our guest today. No stranger to the dog days of August. You don't miss those, do you?
I don't miss 2 a days.
You love to just start in state championship mode, right? There. Coach Ray Durham, thank you for being with us today.
Thank you, Coach.
Like I said, we got earlier in the segment, we said how we got here a little early today, all of us, which is good for me.
Yeah.
Normally I'm not here early. Right. But we were all here early, and we started talking about some of the greatest athletes. First of all, national stage. Let's just roll through a couple. You had mentioned Jim Thorpe, one of the greatest athletes of all time anywhere.
Well, and I don't think there's any question about that.
Do you think he is the GOAT
I
athlete?
do.
Okay.
I mean, he was the best football player in the country. He was the best track athlete in the country. He won the Olympics, and he played for the New York Giants. Baseball.
And he could do it all.
He could.
He probably was a pretty decent basketball player, too.
Well, I don't know if they'd.
If they put him out there and told him to play basketball, he could do it, I imagine.
This might have been before the ball went through the.
Through the
True.
net.
When it was
the
landed in the
basket,
peach
yeah.
basket,
Yeah,
they had
it
to
was
get
in
up
the
on the
peach
ladder.
basket.
It was what, early 1900s?
Early
1980?
1900s.
Yeah.
He was in the
Dr. James
1912
Mason.
Olympic Games,
Right.
I believe.
And who you reckon was that first guy that figured out, hey, we need to cut the bottom out of this peach basket, or we're going to be here all day on this ladder. So other national athletes, and we're basically talking about ones that played multiple sports. Obviously, Michael Jordan's a great athlete, but didn't play multiple sports.
Michael Jordan is the only athlete
Well,
I
he did
ever
play baseball,
saw
but yeah, sort of.
that was really good in high school, got better in college, and then got better in the pros.
Yeah.
Usually it goes the other way. You know, you're great in high school, good in college, and
Yeah,
okay in the
Because of
pros.
competition.
Or
everything.
vice
Yeah.
versa, yeah.
And now, I mean, I don't know anybody else that's ever done that.
And like the kid Shavlik Randolph, remember him?
I do.
He peaked in high school.
Yes.
He was good in college, but then never played pro ball, you know?
His
Christian
granddaddy was one of
Laettner-
my favorite players.
Oh, yeah.
Ronnie Shavlik.
That's right.
Right. Well, you know, some athletes, they develop later on in the stages of their life. Some guys get mature when they're 18, 19, 21, 22 years old, and then just 25.
But Jordan, when the competition got better, he got better.
Right.
Yeah.
Like Carl Lester Crumpler.
Yeah,
we
that's
talked about
true.
him before. I mean, he was 6'3", 210, 15 pounds in the ninth grade.
Yeah.
And fast. He didn't get much faster. In fact, in my opinion, I don't think he got a whole lot better the older that he got. But he was already good at that age.
Well, he's the first seventh grader I saw dunk a basketball.
Crumpler.
Yeah.
And he was just a fantastic athlete. He ran a flight of
young
high
age.
hurls in the state track meet that was just unbelievable.
Right.
Did you ever talk to him any at the games where his grandson and stuff's playing?
No, not really.
Because he's been at some of those games. South Central,
Yeah.
I think, is.
That's his son playing.
is his son playing?
His youngest son,
Okay, his
Isaiah
son.
Crumpler. He got a scholarship to Rutgers.
Well, there was another kid, another Crumpler. Algie. No, there was
yeah.
another Crumpler playing for South
Junior,
Central.
Carl Lester
yeah,
Crumpler
Carl Lester
Jr.
Junior,
Okay.
yeah. Now, he was among the three or
yeah.
four best
He
that
was.
I ever saw.
Now, his youngest son, Isaiah, played at D.H. Conley.
Okay. So they kind of spread the wealth.
And
a
he
little
went to, he got a scholarship to Rutgers.
And then you have Roman Gabriel.
Now we're back on. Now let's finish the national stage first, though. You had mentioned Dion and Bo Jackson, obviously, because
Jackie Robinson.
they were on the biggest stages. Jackie Robinson,
Jim Brown.
Jim Brown,
Jim Brown, best football player ever.
And probably the best
he was
lacrosse player.
A lacrosse player, probably the
How about
best in the
that?
country at his time. I mean,
Any
we're
others
talking
that-
mid-50s here.
Any others that come to mind?
Well, Bo
Yeah, and Dion.
and Dion
Yeah.
and Jackie Robinson, they'd probably all be right there near the top.
What about Jesse Owens? Did he do anything other than track, or was he just pretty much
Jesse
track?
Owens was just a track and field man, I believe.
Yep.
All right. Well, let's go to the state of North Carolina. You already mentioned a couple of them. Roman Gabriel.
Roman Gabriel was a quarterback, a forward, and a first baseman.
Yeah, I figured
and
he
I
probably
think he
played
might have
baseball.
pitched some. When I went to Broughton to coach, they took me out to the baseball field, and we walked to the outfield, and there was a little stone plaque out there. And I said, what is this? He said, this is where the ball hit when Roman Gabriel hit it when we were playing, and it was like 400 feet. Now, of course, Roman was probably 6'4", 220 then.
Yeah.
And when he used to play at State, it was him, and then everybody else was 6 feet or under.
Right.
He
You didn't have everybody that size.
he was a giant.
And Sonny Jorgensen played 3 sports, didn't he?
Yes, he did. He's played, he was, like I told you earlier, he was in the All-Star game as a basketball player. And, of course, he went from Duke and he went to the NFL.
And he was at New Hanover also.
He's a New Hanover guy also.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, wasn't Trot Nixon New Hanover also?
Trot,
So you got 3 very similar guys that played every sport that came from that same high school.
and 2 of them were close together. Sonny and Roman were close together.
At that time, but then Trot came along later.
Then Trot
great
came along
quarterback,
later.
Right.
Yeah.
great baseball player, obviously, and I think he played basketball too. He was just one of them. That's just weird that school has probably 3 of the best overall athletes that the state's ever put out.
But the best was Danny Talbot.
Danny Talbot. Tell us a little bit about him.
Danny Talbot was 6 foot, 175 as a high school senior. Rocky Mount won the state football championship. Danny Talbot was the all-state quarterback, player of the year in North Carolina. In basketball, Rocky Mount won the basketball state championship. Danny
won it
Talbot
all.
was the point guard, all-state in basketball. But baseball is where it gets really unique, is that about midway through the season, Danny took a line drive off his throwing hand and broke it. They put him in a cast, and they got to the state playoffs, and it's the last game. And as a sophomore out there pitching for Rocky Mount, I think Rocky Mount's leading 4-1, and the other crowd loads it up. So the coach walks out there, and Danny comes up to him and says, "Coach, let me go. I can go. The cast is off."
I was starting to say he didn't cut it off right there like you see on TV, did he?
He said the cast was off. He said, "What did the doctor say? Didn't he say you couldn't play?" Danny said, "No, sir." He said, "If I played and got hit on again, what might happen?" And so the coach looked at Danny and said, "You want to play?" And Danny said, "Yes, sir." So Danny goes out there and throws 9 pitches, and Rocky Mount wins the state championship.
Wow.
How about that?
That's something like TV stuff's made of, ain't it?
Oh, yeah, and when you come in Old Rocky Mount High School, you come down Talbot Drive.
Oh, really?
I mean, you just could not believe what that boy did in high school.
I didn't know that
Oh,
they
yeah,
named
man.
that.
He,
after.
Yeah,
He,
Talbot Drive,
that's
the old
awesome.
high school.
he
we
passed
came-
away about, I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago.
Yeah.
I think. Yeah.
And look, and Danny signs pro baseball out of Carolina. He's athlete of the year, ACC athlete of the year twice. And he plays baseball for 3 or 4 years and doesn't look like it's going to work for him. So Lombardi's at Washington now. He remembers Talbot in college. So Talbot's the number 3 quarterback with the Redskins. Clipboard holder, basically, but
Right.
I mean, so he's been with the Redskins, and if Lombardi had lived, I think Talbot could have had maybe a pro career at quarterback. But when he retired from everything, he took up tennis, ranked in the top 10, 40 or over. He took up golf, scratch golfer.
Yeah.
He was just the
good
most unique athlete I've ever seen.
Anything you want to do, you could play.
Anything he wanted to do, that he could do it. And he was a good kid, good grown man, you know, and it was just.
I know he had to put up with something when he came to Goldboro High School to play.
Yes.
They got off the bus and walked to the field house, and people from Goldboro were giving him a hard time. I mean, he was.
And
he got
just
a
that the
lot-
people in Goldsboro even knew who played.
Right.
For somebody
They
else.
knew
you know?
who he was.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like we talked about before, it wasn't the instant stuff like you have now. That was word of mouth.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're going to take our second break. When we come back, we're going to have our Hurricanes watch up first, and then we're going to get into more high school football stuff coming up. And we'll talk about the Onslow County athletes, too. We'll be right back. He leads them back. They win 38-35. But if you left, you don't see that. He did the same thing with Maryland over Miami. Remember in college. So yeah, don't leave early.
I'm gonna say something about this.
Let me give them props real quick. Yeah, he's in there for Hurricane Watch, of course. Thank you, Jason Hunt, for the gang for doing that. Hurricanes are in action tonight at home against. Actually, it's 3:00 today because it's Black Friday. 3:00 today. We got time right afterwards. Head up there.
And I want to give another shout out to Jason for raising the most money for Dancing with the Stars for the Onslow Victim Center back on October.
Great cause they do.
Great cause. But I got to talk about these Jacksonville football fans.
Tell us about them.
There was more people from Jacksonville at the Burlington game this past Friday night than was for Burlington. And the visitor side where they sat was full. And when those 57 seconds were left on that clock for the ball game to end, all you could hear in that stadium was that crowd in Jacksonville. Defense, defense, defense. And I don't know how many of them there were, but it was full.
And then players hear it.
And them doggone right, they are the 12th man. There's no question about it. It inspires them guys, I do think, to hear people pulling for them.
And I
got to be some of the greatest fans ever.
No question, they travel so good. They really do.
And I love the way high school is still separated. You have one side and the other side. College, it's a little intermingled, and with Ticketmaster, somebody might sell their home tickets, the other team get them. NFL is just a free-for-all. Did you see the Panthers game last Sunday? Panthers played a great game, held right with the world champions, but the entire stadium was red. The fans. I mean, Kansas City Chiefs bought all them tickets that them Fairweather Panthers fans are selling.
Well, these Cardinal
sell you tickets. Call your buddy up that is a Panthers fan and let him go.
They travel everywhere. Every home game or away game
they do?
I've been to.
But the bottom line, if their tickets ain't for sale, they can't get them.
Right.
Now, if you've ever been to a Steelers game against a team that's having a bad season, the Steelers, you can't even get in the stands. No. And I suspect it'll be that way. We're going this Sunday, actually, to see the Panthers play Tampa Bay. That one won't be as much that way, but I suspect in a couple of weeks when they play Dallas, there'll be a lot of Cowboys fans there because they're everywhere. You'll hear about them after like last week's win. You hear the Cowboys fans, then they kind of recede a little and things go bad.
Well, who's going to be coaching the Cowboys next year?
I don't know, but I don't think it'd be McCarthy.
You don't think so?
Speaking of which, we would be remiss if we didn't mention earlier this week Mac Brown.
Yeah. Or Blake Harrell.
Yeah. But that's his he got the job officially.
He earned it. Yeah,
earned it.
He sure did.
And that goes to show you if a program is just getting in the doldrums 3 or 4 years in a row. And I'll be honest with you, I thought Mike Houston was going to be a great hire for East Carolina.
I did. And I liked him and
just
still
never
liked
worked out. And it was getting worse. Finally, they make a decision. And that just shows you that sometimes changing the culture or the attitude, man, it won 4 in a row. The Pirates are the hottest things in sliced bread right now.
Yeah.
The last one, too, they had to come from way back because I remember seeing the score early in the game. I'm like 20 points early in that game. Mm-hmm. And so he's got them believing there. And who knows, once at the end of the year, once he puts his spin on the offseason, what they're going to be like next year. So things are looking up in Pirates.
It's going to be about recruiting and money.
Oh, my gosh. And a lot of people back to Mac Brown are saying that that's the reason Carolina football is struggling, which they've never been upper level yet so far. But they say that the NIL money just ain't there like it is in Ohio State.
I like what Stephen Clark said on your show about 2 or 3 weeks ago, the principal from Richland High School. He said, the answer is money. Now, what's the question?
You're right, because that answers everywhere.
And that's really a shame.
It is. It sure
And I did want to give a shout out to him and Robert Farley for that show, because that was our realignment show.
Oh, yeah.
And, man, they cleared up a lot of questions we had. It's only going to get more clear as like March approaches when they do the conference and everything.
We found out Jacksonville's going to be what, 6A?
Looks like 6A.
6A, right.
And Southwest 4A, but Southwest will be like the second lowest 4A team, just like they were in 2A. They were always one of the lower ends. But we're going to take our last break, and when we come back, we got a lot more high school football to talk about our picks, who's doing what, who's doing not, which is me. We'll be right back on Sports Talk. Hey, welcome back to Sports Talk. It's this day in sports history time. All this stuff happened on the November 28th at some time in the great history of this land. We'll go all the way back to 1895, America's first auto race organized by the Chicago Times-Herald. Chicago to Evanston, that's what? Illinois? Indiana. Evanston.
Indiana.
Yeah. And back, 6 cars, 55 miles. Frank Dorea wins, averaging a whopping 7 miles an hour. You've run faster than that before, Ashley.
Yeah.
But not for 55 miles, probably.
No.
7 miles an hour. I'm assuming them were those were model whatevers and the original buggies that had the little.
I don't know why the world even did it. Just put a horse in the race, ride the horse.
Yeah, you're right. Old Charles Ingalls with that buckboard from Little House on the Prairie could have beat him in that. All right, Coach, you got number 2 there.
1929, Chicago fullback Ernie Nevers sets NFL record for most points scored in a single game, with all 40 in the record, 6 touchdowns and 4 extra points.
So you reckon he was running for extra points in before they had 2, or was he a kicker too? You think?
Well, this was well before the
he might have
2-point
been the
extra
kicker, too.
points.
What college?
Yeah, but what I mean is, did they just run for 1 point, or was he kicking it the extra point? You know what I mean? I know they weren't going for 2.
I don't know that he was a kicker.
Okay.
So he was probably just running
For 1 point.
What college did he play for? You remember?
Oh, I remember he used to be on my little. I used to have a football picture book and I remember seeing this record, but I can't remember where he went to college.
Syracuse.
He was the Cuse.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Pretty good runners came out of that school.
Oh yeah,
sure
Jim
did.
Brown was in there, right?
Ernie Davis.
Arnie Davis died very, very young. He got cancer or something real young. He sure was. All right, in 1938, the 4th Heisman Trophy Award goes to Davey O'Brien from Texas Christian. He was the quarterback there.
Isn't there an award now, the Davey O'Brien Award?
Yeah.
What's it?
Quarterback.
Quarterback.
Award,
Okay.
yeah. That's also what we call TCU,
Is it?
Texas Christian.
That's right.
Christian,
That's
yeah.
right. TCU. All right.
All right.
Big deal.
1953 to 18th Iron Bowl. And before you mention this one, man, the Iron Bowl has had some classics, hasn't it? Alabama and Auburn. You talk about one of the classic matchups. I mean, you got Michigan,
Running that
Ohio
kickoff
State.
back.
Yeah, the kick
kickoff
six, they
return.
call it.
Yeah.
And how in the world that got past a mind like Nick Saban, that with that long a field goal, that might happen. He had all his regular linemen out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they were slow. They
Because I
couldn't
remember
nobody
them
cover.
Yeah.
No.
But the 18th Iron Bowl, this is back in 1953. Alabama beat Auburn 10-7 in Birmingham.
1956, Lee Calhoun leads an American trifecta in the men's 110 hurdles at the Melbourne Olympics. Hurdles Olympic record 13.5 to beat teammate Jack Davis and Joel Schenkel.
So 110 meters, 13.5 seconds. That's jumping them little sticks that they got to jump to.
That's
getting
right.
it. That's pretty good.
And I think Joel Schenkel was from Duke.
Was he?
All right. 1957, Milwaukee Braves future Hall of Fame pitcher Warren Spahn wins the Cy Young Award.
That's another one of them classic baseball names that we talk about and you hear over and over. Now, you talked about Duke football. About 10 years before this, or 10 or 12 years before that 1956 thing, well, I guess I just gave it away. What is the only place to host a Rose Bowl other than Pasadena?
Yeah.
Of course.
Wallace
Duke.
Wade Stadium.
Wallace Wade Stadium.
Because of World
they did
War
not
II.
want all that
Japanese
stuff on the
bombing.
West
Yeah.
Coast because of a Japanese possible attack.
And Duke lost.
Was Duke in it?
I think
I knew it was
Duke
hosted
was
there.
in
I
the
didn't know
Rose
if they were
Bowl.
actually
They
in it, too.
lost. Southern Cal, I believe.
Boy, back then that was a long trip for Southern Cal. They probably had to land the plane 4 times to get here, didn't they?
Might have took a train. I don't know. I don't know.
Possibly. Yeah.
Talk about changing times. Duke Stadium is the Wallace Wade Stadium. You know where Wallace Wade came from?
It seems like I've heard this.
He was a coach at Alabama.
Was he?
Can you imagine that happening today? A coach leave Alabama to go to Duke?
Yeah. No. I can't see that. If he's left Alabama to go to Duke, he's left in disgrace. Sorry, Duke fans. All right, in 1965, LPGA title holders championship in women's golf, Augusta Country Club. I didn't know the ladies played at Augusta back then. Kathy Whitworth wins by 10 shots from Peggy Wilson for her first major title.
Augusta Country Club is not Augusta National Golf Club.
Right.
Oh, okay.
It's right beside it.
You've answered my question.
There
Thank
you
you.
go.
1972, LA Dodgers trade Frank Robinson to California Angels.
Another one of them baseball names.
I wonder if the manager kept his job. You know?
Well,
All right.
imagine somebody like Frank Robinson getting traded to the league and still having a great career in both leagues.
Oh yeah.
He was one of those outfielders in that era.
Right.
I mean, they had Mays, Aaron, and Clemente, but they also had Frank Robinson was in the league, Kurt Flood was in the league, Billy Bruton was in the league. I mean, that was a great era for outfielders.
A golden era.
Kurt
A
Flood,
golden era.
Kurt Flood played at Granger Stadium.
I saw him.
Did you?
Was
I
he
did.
playing for whoever? It
High
wasn't the
Toms.
Indians, obviously.
He played for the High Toms,
Oh, okay.
High Point Thomasville.
How about that? All right. Let me see. 1974 baseball commissioner Bowie Coon suspends New York Yankees owner George Steinbrenner for 2 years because of his federal conviction for illegal contributions to political campaigns.
Now, weren't that the same, or was that Bart Giamatti, the one that suspended Pete Rose?
That was Bart Giamatti.
That was Bart
suspended,
Giamatti.
but
Yeah.
I
George
didn't know there
Steinbrenner-
was such thing as an illegal
I
contribution.
I didn't think it was either. It's
Yeah.
not unless you get caught.
I'm guessing it was millions. But that's still, in my opinion, a travesty.
Illegal.
for-
How do you illegally contribute to something?
I
Yeah.
don't know. Oh, nowadays, look at the
Yeah.
way the elections are run nowadays. It's
Yeah.
a free-for-all.
Okay.
All right, in 1975, Bobby Orr plays his last game for the Boston Bruins. This is still back when they weren't wearing helmets. And
Which, by the way, the Boston Bruins were what? The first United States-based team in the National
in
Hockey
the National
League.
Hockey League.
Thank you, April
That was
Brown.
like 1928 or something.
Yeah.
We saw that. Mm-hmm. All right, you coach.
Coach.
Oh,
1982.
in 1982, Germany's Sylvia Hanneke staged his remarkable comeback to upset tennis champion icon Martina Navratilova, 1-6, 3-6, 6-4, and win her only WTA Tour Championship in New York City.
Now, on the tennis stage, that's probably the equivalent of Bronny James beating Michael Jordan in a one-on-one contest back
Yeah.
then, you know? Coach, or,
All right. 1989, Ricky Henderson signs a record $3 million contract per year with baseball's Oakland Athletics.
My, how
That's a lot
times
of
have
money back
changed.
then. I
That's
don't
a
know,
lot of money now,
now.
That's chicken feed now.
but yeah, in baseball
year?
terms, it's not. I love that one stat. My favorite stat from this past baseball year, though, was the Detroit Tigers' salary was less than one pitcher on the team. Their whole team salary was less than one pitcher of the team they beat in the first round. I love that. I mean, I wish more teams would put together those
How about
scrappy
those,
type
how
teams.
about those football players back in the late 50s or mid 50s that they couldn't make a living playing professional football? They had to have other jobs.
Oh, yeah. And baseball, too.
Yeah.
I can remember getting a baseball card and it saying Mickey Mantle, so-and-so and so-and-so, and works at the so-and-so store
How about
in the
more? That'd be
off-season.
worth something now.
I mean, it's just unbelievable.
Look at Joe DiMaggio. Had to go out and sell Mr. Coffee Makers.
Yeah.
Yeah. He know, did he, Marilyn
Who do you
Monroe?
think was the first one of those guys to realize, hey, I can make some money by being a pitch man?
Yeah.
I mean, who knows when that started, but I mean,
Well,
you know.
the generation right after me remembers Joe DiMaggio
Oh, yeah.
as Mr. Coffee.
Yeah.
Not Jolton Joe DiMaggio of the Yankees.
Yeah.
That's Mr. Coffee.
Mr. Coffee. And then some of those classic Miller Lite commercials that they used to have. Tastes
Oh,
great,
yeah.
less filling. Man, you can find them on YouTube. All you got to do is start one, and then it loads everyone underneath it. And
They were great.
man, everybody from Dangerfield to
Bubba Smith.
then you always had John Madden busting through the
Yeah.
wall right
Oh,
there,
yeah.
you know, like the Kool-Aid Man.
Yeah.
All right, we had left off earlier talking about athletes from we'd covered the national stage and most of North Carolina. I did want to mention Julius Peppers too. I think even though he only played basketball for a small time at Carolina, you talk about a freak of nature. That dude was just
Well, he's an NFL Hall of Famer, isn't he?
oh yeah, he just got inducted. Yeah.
Okay.
No, it was
When
a little while
Julius was in school at Southern Nash, I happened to be coaching at Rocky Mount, so I got to see him every year.
back. So you got a front row seat, didn't you?
Front row seat every year.
Was he impossible to block?
Well, the funny part about it is, his senior year, he comes out there against us, and he's a tailback in the high formation.
Big as he was.
Yikes!
Yes,
How would you like to step on that train track with that freight train coming?
great track athlete.
Yeah. He could do it all.
Discus, shot put, ran a leg in the relay, and obviously a good basketball player.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
Southern Nash.
got all the rebounds.
That's Bailey,
Yeah,
North Carolina. isn't
Bailey,
it?
North
Bailey.
Carolina.
He saved not Mac Brown. He saved Matt Doherty for one season too, because Matt was out of players and basically started recruiting off the football team. Saw Julius Peppers said, "Come play basketball." So he comes out there and he's the best player on the team. Remember,
He
had a
yeah.
great year, just an awesome athlete. All right, now let's shift gears to Onslow County. Just give us some of your thoughts on some of the greatest overall athletes. Doesn't have to be one sport. Like obviously, overall athletes are ones that played probably more than one sport.
Well, I
So just
saw
start
him. I
naming
saw
some
him
of them.
compete, but the one I remember first is Dave Dunaway. I mean, he was a football player and a
Track man.
great track athlete. As a matter of fact, his senior year, Jacksonville track team comprised of Dave Dunaway, finishes second in the 4A state
In the
track meet.
state.
He had 3 firsts and a second.
I would love to hear the announcement. Our state champion is Greenville Rose. Our runner-up state champion is Dave Dunaway.
Dave Dunaway.
As a team.
Yeah,
Because he
that's
competed in
right.
so many different events.
He was
That's
just,
crazy.
he was a Jim Thorpe type guy,
Yeah.
you know.
You would think they'd have had one or two more that could have added to him to have been. They wouldn't have had to do much to win the state championship. Yeah. Anyway.
No, I mean, I think the winning score might have been 25 or something, and he had like 22.
Yeah. All on his own.
Yeah, all on his own.
Wow. All right.
And then you got the quarterback and wide receiver Billy Ray.
Bobby Ray?
Billy Ray.
Billy Ray.
Billy Ray Washington.
Oh yeah.
And Billy Ray was a good all-around athlete. He was a hurtler in track, basketball.
Where did he
player.
play ball?
Jacksonville.
Okay.
And who was
What were the years he played there, roughly? Late
70s.
early 70s.
Yeah. Now, who was his quarterback?
Leander Green.
Leander. Leander played baseball and basketball, and he was a really good athlete.
Yeah. He was one of the first high-profile ones I remember. Now I know there was some before, but for one of the first ones I remember going on to college and playing at the
Yeah.
next level,
Division
big
one
at
level, yeah.
East Carolina. So I remember I knew a lot of East Carolina fans, and they would say, "Man, he's your guy," because you're from Jacksonville, and back then Jacksonville was the school, around here. I mean, one of the only schools. It wasn't like now where you have all the
Yeah.
different ones, So what are some other ones you remember? Obviously Martin Page,
Martin Page,
very
Richland's
great, very
boy.
good athlete.
There was a big, tall kid in Swansboro. I can't remember his name now, but he went to Carolina, played football.
What Purvis was it?
No, but it was before then.
Oh, okay.
And he played football and basketball in high school, but he played at Carolina, I believe. I just can't come up with his name.
Trying to think of some of the others. Kendrick Burney.
Kendrick, quick.
Yeah.
Very, very quick.
Every sport, and we
I was
talked.
glad we didn't have to play Kendrick and them boys back then.
Well, actually, y'all Jacksonville did play Southwest in. The year you came back was the year you broke the streak because Southwest had won like the first two, I think, and then the kick. You remember the game where the kick hit the upright? You were coach that year. Southwest had a chance to win it at the end and doinked the upright on the left side. I remember seeing the mark later years. You can still see the mark of the dang football up there.
Well, and they had the best kicker in the county.
Yeah,
And
just pulled it.
and then I had a kid that was a soccer boy that had never been in a football game yet. And they missed the extra point. So I got him over there and I said, now we're going to run 2 plays, and if we're not in there, you're going.
Yeah.
And I think he wet his pants, which I don't blame him. But we scored on second down,
Yeah.
and we won by, 1
Well,
point.
good.
Yeah.
There
So
was
Kendrick Burney was a extremely good athlete, and the big tackle was a good athlete. They had.
Marcus Jones.
Yes,
Yeah, 'cause
he was a good.
He wasn't
athlete.
just football. He ran track. He was track,
Yeah.
shot put, and I think he set
Yeah.
the state record at one time for shot put.
And the boy from Richlands, the big boy.
Mario.
Yeah, Mario.
Swansboro had a product that played linebacker in East Carolina with Danny Kepley, Billy Hibbs from Swansboro.
I remember that
Swansboro,
name.
Yeah. Who
Yeah.
in Swansboro.
Now you were mentioning two of the ones you mentioned, Mario Williams and Kendrick Burney. They have 2 distinctions that nobody else has. Mario, of course, #1 draft pick in the NFL.
Yeah.
Not only the #1 from Onslow County, he's the only one from the state of North Carolina ever to be #1. A lot of people thought that's me. A lot of people thought that Lawrence Taylor was. Lawrence Taylor was number 2 in the draft. Plus, he wasn't from North Carolina. He was from
Virginia
Beach, yeah. But still,
And he was the second best player ever beat Carolina.
who was the first? Hold on. Choo Choo?
You talking about? Yeah.
Exactly.
You know where he was from? His hometown?
Asheville.
Asheville. Sure was.
Have you seen
Great
the Choo Choo
story
statue
about
there?
Choo Choo.
Finished second Heisman 2 years in a row.
Yeah.
Do you remember anybody that won it those 2 years?
He's more legendary than the 2 that won it. You're right.
One of them is named Charlie Trippey
Yeah.
from Georgia.
I heard of him. Heard of him.
But anyway, Charlie Justice was from Asheville. And back in the 40s, Raleigh was the West for us. Not many rural eastern North Carolina people went past Raleigh. So we got no information about Charlie Justice. Well, then he gets in college. He gets ready to go to college, single wing tailback. And he's 145 pounds. And he wants to go to Duke. Just made up his mind, I want to go to Duke. And Duke told him, you're a little too small, son.
How'd that work out for him?
So to punish Duke, Charlie went in the Navy. And he went to one of those places in the Navy, I forget what the name of it was, but football was big. This is right after the war.
Right.
Football was big in the service then. But it was for the officers.
Yeah.
Well, the day that football started, Charlie goes out there, and all the officers are ticked off, They got this kid out there, 18 years old. By the second day, Charlie was the best player on the field. Well, he does his stint in the Navy, and he comes out. He's 75 pounds now. There's Duke waiting for him. He said, what's the worst thing I can do to Duke? Go there and then go to Carolina. I believe he's the only statue there.
He is that I've seen. That and the Ram, of course. The Ram.
Yeah, the Ram.
But he's revered there. I remember when he passed away, or it may have been after he passed away. There was some anniversary or something. They would have wasn't he number 22 or something?
22.
22. They would have the 22 hash mark in light blue.
Yeah.
Like all the rest were white, and they'd have that in light blue in honor of him because he's obviously the biggest name ever to play there.
Yeah, and the funny thing is nowadays I can mention Charlie Justice and nobody
Ever heard
got any idea who Charlie Justice
Oh,
was.
a lot of people do, yeah. Not the younger folks.
And I'll tell these Carolina fans, of course, I'm a state guy. Look at your statue and see who that statue is up there.
him with the leather helmet on and everything.
with the leather helmet on.
Is that you?
That's Hollywood.
I think it's Coach. He's getting a call from somebody want to interject on the debate here. But who else from Onslow County? Anybody you can think of, or tell us some of the ones from Eastern North Carolina. The guy you were talking about, Kepley.
Yeah, Danny
tell us a
Kepler
little about him.
from Goldsboro. I was fortunate enough to play with him. I was a senior. He was a junior. He didn't start playing football till he was a junior in high school. He was a safety the first game that he played in. We played Southern Wayne, and they had a little running back over there named Charlie Marks, and he'd get on the end, and I would try to contain him and give Danny a free shot at him because I knew if this blocker knocked me out of the way, Charlie Marks was going to score. So I just held up the block in front of him and just backpedaled. And Danny kept it come across the line and just knocked him about up in the stands. And he got up and he had a great big grin on his face like a kid. He loved it.
Oh, yeah.
And when we got back to Goldsboro at the field house, after the game meeting and everything, we won the game. Coach Wisnut said, boys, I just want to tell you one thing. Danny Kepley will knock your jock off. And he went on to play at East Carolina. He was a third-team All-American at East Carolina. Tried out with the Dallas Cowboys. He was the last player cut, and the guy that beat him was Hollywood Henderson. You may remember him.
Big dude, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He was
Hollywood
one of the
probably didn't
first.
remember it either.
And Danny wanted to go to Carolina. But they snubbed their nose at him. They didn't even talk to him and everything. So he ended up going to East Carolina. And then he went to the Canadian Football League. They won the Grey Cup up there 5 years in a row. He was a defensive player, won the Shinley Award up there 3 years in a row. And he's back home in Goldsboro with his brother David, who he coached in the North Carolina High School All-Star football game. Is taking care of him. He's suffering that CTE thing with all them hits that he took throughout the years because there's one thing he would do. He was a big time hitter, no question about it.
So they didn't call him Captain Crunch because he come through in crunch time. They called him because he would crunch.
He would crunch it, and the whole defense they called the Wild Dogs back then.
It's crazy. Mm-hmm. It's funny how over the course of time you see decisions that you look at and you go, "What were they thinking?" The Red Sox trading Babe Ruth. The curse of the Bambino years ago.
They finally got over it, didn't they?
And, of course, you've seen the letter, if you've ever been to the Carolina Basketball Museum, you've probably seen it on the internet somewhere, of Mike Krzyzewski's letter to Michael Jordan, not because he didn't want him, but because Jordan chose Carolina and, thanking him for it. Well, that was probably the best thing to happen to Jordan because the old saying was the only man that could hold Michael Jordan under 20 points a game was Dean Smith. Because he put him in a system and made him a better player as a teammate. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Well, did you ever wonder if that ball at Georgetown doesn't go in? Is there going to be a Michael Jordan?
I think
because he was a third option on that team.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you had Worthy and you had
Perkins.
He was the third. So, is he going to turn out to be Michael Jordan if that shot at Georgetown doesn't go in?
Yeah.
Because that made him.
That put him on the stage quick.
That's exactly right.
Well, we're going to shift gears to high school football.
All right.
It's playoff time. We're down to the crunch time. Speaking of crunch, we'll call you Captain Crunch if you pull this out because it's getting down to the crunch time. You're right there with them now.
We're running out of games, though. But
last week, Chris Miller went 6-4. Bob Ward went 6. Both of them were tied first place, and Jerry Allen went 7-3, and he was one game back. So, I'm a brilliant math major. That tells me we got a three-way tie for first. 80 wins, 70 losses. Allen tied for first. Still got Brian North, and now he's fourth, but technically he's got the second best record, but he's in fourth now. 78-19. Then Harry made up some ground. 8-2 went one of the few to go 8-2. So he's right there behind Brian, and then you're right there behind. You're with Steve Goodson at 76-21, man. Within striking distance. And I'm going to pick some guy. I haven't picked the games yet this week. I'm going to pick them right after the show and get them to everybody so we'll have plenty of time before the game starts tonight.
Not enough weeks for me to catch up.
Well, there is, man, because remember last year we went all the way to state championship. So this year there will be 4 games in the last week. I'm going to do all 4, all West, East, whatever. You have
How
to
many
pick
games left before the state championship in football? 2 games?
3.
3?
Yes,
At least
they go
3.
an extra round now.
Okay.
There's 3.
It's ridiculous.
There's 3 in the East, and then the state championship game will be the 4th. There's 6 games you got to win now that we figured last week. We're looking it up.
Okay.
You got to win 6 games after the season's over. Used to, you would do an endowment game and get 11 games, and then it'd be 5. But now, the state always gets that weekend somewhere, don't they?
Yeah.
And then, of course, with the I was looking at it this week with the extra week they gave the West to finish up their games because of Hurricane Helene and the terrible flood and stuff up there. It's working out with the state championship week this week is like December 20th. So it's about as late as it's been.
It's just ridiculous.
Yeah. That's a long season. Half the year
Yeah, and
in football.
why would it be over 16 teams?
Yeah,
I mean,
I agree.
8 and 8, 8 for the East, 8 for the West, and then but now analytics is entered.
Bureaucracy, Coach.
Yeah,
It's just crazy.
What was the thing? No
answer's
matter what
money.
the question is, the answer is
the
money.
answer's the money. Now, what's the question?
Yeah.
And that's why they went to the subdivision a few years ago.
Oh,
Well,
that was ridiculous.
And they used it as an excuse because you remember your protege, Phil Paget, won the state championship in 2000. The very next year didn't make the playoffs because they go 9-1, lose the last game. There's a 3-way tie. And because of a coin flip, the 6th-ranked 2A team in the state doesn't go to the playoffs.
Defend the state champion.
Yeah, defend state champions. So that's when they went to the subdivision shortly after that, just to make sure that didn't happen. But they got it too watered down. It went the to where you had, especially in 1A, you'd have 0-10 teams
Going to the playoffs.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And
I don't
that,
understand that. I
the
just don't get it.
playoffs should be earned,
Yeah.
not given to.
Sure.
So let me make sure I understand this, because you were coaching during all that time there, and I want to make sure I don't miss this. Obviously, Jacksonville won a state championship in 1982. Southwest won, Underfield won 4 state titles. Wasn't there a Lejeune team that won like what was called a Division II state championship
I wouldn't be surprised.
in the late 70s?
Because what
Because
was the old coach over there? A really good coach.
Schwartz.
No, he died several years ago.
he was before Tom Childs, yeah. I
Oh,
can't
yeah,
remember his name,
yeah.
I know you're talking about, because
Yeah.
a lot of people, they look at you like you're crazy when you tell them Lejeune was a football power
Yeah,
in
that-
the late 70s, early 80s.
Yeah, that linebacker that went to Carolina, Simmons, was that his name?
May have been.
I believe it was Simmons, yeah.
But it's just because the type kids they have, a lot more families lived on base, and
Yeah, right.
you had a lot more. They were more of a powered in. But I think it was like 78 or 79 or maybe 81, somewhere along in there. What they would do is crown the state champion. Then they had the rest of them kind of like a subdivision, and they won a Division II state championship.
I don't get it how a team can go 0-10, 1-9, or 2-8 and get in the playoffs.
1A was so watered down that they had no choice, because 1A is not only losing to 1A teams in the conference, they're losing to everybody they play non-conference is bigger than them most times, So they're losing a lot of non-conference games. So Lejeune went 1 year 0-10,
And went to the playoffs.
went to the playoffs.
That
was in the subdivision
and now
years.
they've doubled the number of playoff
Yeah,
A's.
yeah. That's a good way to
1A,
put it.
2A, 3A, up to 8A.
They got their A's all screwed up.
And that's that's just really ridiculous. It's like saying, all right, we've had a regular season, now we're going to have a tournament.
And here's the
Like
difference.
basketball, we're going to have a tournament now after all
Yeah.
playing all these games.
Here's the difference. So now it's subdivided all year long,
Yeah.
and for every sport. So you're going to have even sports like volleyball will have 8 state champions now, right?
Yes.
That's going to be that's 4 more. That's double the number of state championship games, which is money. Yeah. So it's all what it is. Show me the money, boys.
And this is the crowd that several years ago they came out and said they were hoarding $40 million or something up there.
Yeah.
They had $40 million in the bank.
I finally had somebody explain that to me. Here's the way that they explained it to me, and I don't know if I'm telling it right. They say it's an endowment.
Yeah.
When it's an endowment, you can't the principal. You just work off the interest from
Right.
it. So the principal stays there making money for you for other years, but it's still money just sitting there. And that's where a lot of people, got the bad taste in their mouth is they got this money they're sitting on, but apparently there's nothing they can do with
Well,
it.
who does that money belong to?
The people that endowed it gave it to them. I don't know who in the long run. If say they disbanded everything, I don't know who it would actually go to. I don't know how that would work.
Well, your first playoff game is they get like 75%. The
Of the
state
gate and
does,
everything, yeah.
and the rest of the playoff games they get less, but they get something from every playoff game.
Yeah.
Now this is after the officials have been paid, the bus for the other teams been paid, pregame meals have
They
been
get
paid.
money from us every ball game too.
Yes,
to
that's right.
broadcast.
Yes.
Yes, and they're doing like you said, they save $40 million and put it in some kind of endowment or something.
And then they had the old endowment game, remember?
Right,
That was the one where
that's right.
all the gate money, and you had to tell a booster, all right, your first game of the season is going to be an endowment game. You sold all these booster passes, worked your tail off as a booster president,
And you don't get
you got
to
to tell
keep
them
none
you
of the
can't use that in the first game.
Yeah.
Oh, man, that was always
You got
the
to pay to
worst.
get in.
Yeah, that was the worst. But there's nothing you can do about it because the state controlled it. Anything you guys want to talk about before we go? Let's talk about Cardinal football. Obviously tonight, Hollywood, give us the rundown. Obviously, is it game at 7 time even in the playoffs?
Yep.
7 p.m.
Yep, 6:30 pregame, 7 o'clock kickoff. It's the third round of the state 3A varsity football tournament. So 6:30 pregame, 7 o'clock kickoff. This time, Cape Fear Colts, they come to town, take on the Cards with Jerry Allen, the voice of the Cardinals.
Give them
Go ahead, Coach. Give them 6. You go ahead and do it. You can do it, Coach. Go ahead.
Give them 6.
That's right there. And of course, Bob Warlick, he's the color analyst of the program.
Bob is
Take
usually very well prepared.
He is.
He's
He
no
is.
question about
Does a
it.
fantastic job. We love having them both.
Well, he's
as
an
part of the
attorney.
team.
He's an attorney. He knows what to say, when to say, and how to
That's
say it.
exactly right.
He slipped one night. The ref made a back call and said, "I object, Your Honor."
I,
He did, but
we're gonna miss Hollywood tonight.
Yeah.
Hollywood's got some family time over Thanksgiving weekend. Of course, he's worked, as you know, off the last couple of
He
weeks.
deserves a little time
Oh,
away.
yeah,
Thank
with the
you.
parades
Thank you
and
very
everything.
much.
But
Yeah.
we got a guy going to be filling in. Wesley Hines has worked with us in the past.
with basketball a lot.
We look forward to seeing Wesley, and be a lot of fun with Jerry and Bob in the box. The team that they're playing, the Cape Fear Colts, are from Vander, North Carolina. For people who don't know where that's at, it's east of Fayetteville, up in Cumberland
Right near
County. It's
Fayetteville.
not down around Wilmington, but Vander, North Carolina. Coach, I don't know a lot about the Colts from Cape Fear other than the 71st beating by like 30-some points. I know
Well-
that don't mean anything now. They knocked off a good Charles B. Aycock team last Friday night, so I'm sure that Coach Bo and his staff will have them ready. And let's put the Burlington Williams games behind us. It was a great game, and they enjoyed it this week. But I hope you didn't eat too much turkey on Thanksgiving. And
Yeah,
I'm sure
don't get into
they'll have
that tryptophan.
maybe we can get a game where we can enjoy it right after the third quarter. Maybe 20, 30-point lead or something like that. Instead of
Not be white knuckling it at the end.
not having to wait till the last 57 seconds to take the lead like we did this
That was awesome
past
game,
weekend.
man.
But it was one heck of a football game. And
Well, and the thing about it is, a lot of times when you win a game like Jacksonville did last week, one that looks lost, and you come back and you win it, it'll take you about half through practice Monday, and you'll blow the whistle, and you'll call them in there. Say, boys,
Get on the line.
get on the line. That's exactly right. You're not practicing like you should have lost a ball game last week. Right. And but I'm sure Coach Williams will get them ready. And we used to play Cape Fear when I was in the league
at Hoggard.
at Hoggard.
Okay.
Yeah, it was 7 federal schools and Hoggard. And then and they did put Stanford in, defending state 3A champions. They did
In the same conference?
in the same conference.
Sanford's, that's up there. Yeah.
421.
Yeah, a little bit out of the way. Yeah.
They had a coach up there that was well known.
Paul Gay.
Yeah, sure was.
Really good coach. Really good coach. 71st has always been good in football.
Yeah.
They've won a couple of championships under Bobby Potts, and but they'll be real good. And I think somewhere down the road, that bunch down east is going to show up Havelock.
Get it together, yeah. Yeah, and they're home throughout the playoffs, too, because they're the number one seed.
Bob could have been. I know Bob has done. I'm talking about Bob Warwick. I know he's done research on these guys. And Jerry's probably got some stats on them. Again, I think they've lost one football game, and that was the first game of the year. I think the 71st. So
Yeah.
Coach, last week, just to give you a couple of stats, last week the Coastal Plains Conference went 2-3. One of those was a forfeit, by the way. East Columbus, for some reason, had a forfeit. We still ain't figured why. The Coastal 3A went 0-4. And that, I think sometimes some of the bottom teams in their conference hurt them towards the end of the year.
that's White Oak,
Yeah,
West Carteret,
White Oak, West
Richlands,
Carteret,
who's
Richlands,
up
yeah.
Dixon.
They went 0-4. This is last week, not this past week. The first week of the playoffs.
week playoff.
East Central went 4-1, and the Big Carolina went 4-2. And I think that shows those two conferences are battle tested. I mean, they have a war every game, just about. And then you got a team like Kinston in the
about
East
that?
Central in the third round now. Nobody would have put that money on that bet. Did they,
No,
in the
everybody
third
picked
round?
East Alamance to win. And
Well,
they
everybody
had-
picked them to lose in the first round.
yeah, and they had to go way up there and play them.
So you still got Kinston, Wallace, and James Keenan left. East Duplin did lose.
West Craven's still hanging around.
That's in the
this conference.
East Central. Now the Big Carolina, what you got? Rose,
How about them
Havelock,
boys?
and Jacksonville, right? Or is there somebody else still around too?
I
think it's
that's
those
it.
three. Yeah.
Havelock, Jacksonville, and Rose.
Well, those two divisions aren't even in football.
Yeah.
Now,
They're top heavy.
they may
Yeah.
be the other way in basketball or baseball or something, but I mean, you got to play Newbern and Rose and
Havelock.
Havelock
Yeah.
and Jacksonville. I mean, some of those boys aren't going to have that good a record. They got good football teams,
Right.
and they may not get in from somebody in the other division that's got a better record.
You're right about that.
You know, that's
That strong conference will help you come playoff time.
well, I never understood why we almost have a division right here in Onslow County, but we're all not playing together.
Apparently,
I mean, we got the best Richlands team
Yeah.
they've had in years.
Right. Wide open.
And then Jacksonville doesn't get to play Richland.
They used
13
to
miles
play.
apart.
They used to play.
Yeah.
Well,
I
how
think
about
you're going to
James?
see that change with realignment.
Yeah.
You'll probably end up seeing them lumped together. All right, we're
Well,
going
it's
to.
like back in Carl S's day, 35 players from Wilson Fight weren't like 35 players from anywhere
No,
else.
you're right about that. Same thing with Havelock.
Yeah,
I mean, Havelock's
right.
loaded every year.
That's
you know,
right.
they don't just take everybody that comes off the street. They probably have cuts, you know.
Yeah.
You know. Well, that's going to do it for Sports Talk. Thank you so much for being with us, Coach.
Enjoy.
Thank
Man,
you,
it's a
Coach.
blast every
Always
time
a
you're here.
pleasure,
You're
brother.
welcome
Thank
any
you.
week you ever want to come. Even if you see early in the week that somebody else is a guest, call me and you come be co-host with us. I mean, you're just a font of
Love
knowledge
talking
from
to
that.
you. Love talking to you, man.
Same thing with you, brother. I mean, there's no doubt you could be behind this mic if you didn't make me do it every week. You like to be here because you co-host and you can interject when you want to.
Well, I like to be here from time to time. I enjoy spending time with you, buddy, but I don't want to get myself in a position where I got to be here.
Gotta be here. And I appreciate your contribution to me. And it's good to have you as
A
co-host.
lot of fun, brother. We got to get
Ashley's
things
not
done.
a loss of words, is he?
Hey, Chris, if you haven't noticed, Ashley's been in the business for a couple years.
Yeah.
He's hosted shows before in his life.
Oh, yeah.
He can do it.
Oh, yeah.
Have faith.
Like me and Ashley, when we went to the, and Brian Bailey too, when we went to the state championship last
Yeah.
year, all three of us are the same. We're all so quiet and shy that we
really
couldn't even
are.
talk to anybody. I look over there and Ashley's giving directions to the Clinton coach on the sideline on something he needs to fix. I'm down there talking with somebody. Brian Bailey out of the three is the only one that's a little more
reserved.
Yeah. A little more reserved, yeah. But hey, I look forward to doing that, even though it looks like it's going to be the week before Christmas.
I look forward to seeing you tonight, buddy.
I
At the
will.
game.
I'll be there.
Yep.
All right, let's
You
finish
too,
up with
Coach.
our sponsors: National Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram, the losses of John Drew Warlick, CNS Paint, Onslow County Motor Company, Fountain Management, Wismark Chappie's Chicken and Gas and Oil, Bartley Oil, I said oil, Bartley Insurance Services, Humphrey Heating and Air Conditioning, Rock Creek Golf and Country Club, Golden Corral, Lane Associates Family Dentistry, Jones Onslow EMC, Southern Touch Painting, and Barnes Diamond Gallery, and of course Bayshore Animal Hospital. I want to thank Helen's Kitchen for those BLTs. I already had one, but I might have to get another one after the show. I think I've talked about 20 pounds off, so I got to have something else for lunch there. Thank you to Billy Grissom and them for doing that. Our Hurricane Watch is powered by Downey's Heating and Air Conditioning. Jason Humphrey in the game. Jason Humphrey went to the Carolina Kansas City Chiefs game this past week. He saw a great game.
It was a
And I
great
thought they're going to start learning to pull them games out, and I think they're going to be trouble down the road if their owner will leave them alone.
You gonna quit talking bad about Tepper?
Who?
Tepper.
Well, he's done two things in the last few months that I really love. Number one, that what he did for Western Relief, $3 million.
Oh, yeah.
Man, I love what he does in the community. I can't knock him for that. The best thing he's done otherwise is he's gotten out of the football day to day. Dan Morgan, their new general manager or whatever you call him, he's kind of letting him run the show, and
Good.
you're seeing the results of that. They're getting a good little team put together. So that does it for Sports Talk. Hollywood's got something to add.
Couple things.
Couple things.
Hope you enjoyed your Thanksgiving yesterday and spent some time with your family. Here at Freedom, we're playing Christmas classics, so enjoy that all weekend long. Enjoy your weekend. Happy holidays, and
Go Cards.
Go Card.
Go Card.
How was the Southwest guy the only one that got it?